Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Lynn, and here we are on day 35 of my first ever hardcore world on Minecraft Bedrock. And I'm really liking the start we got going here. I'm really happy with my little starter base, just a little different style than what I've usually done. And just the area overall here I think is just really cool, and I'm really looking forward to expanding on it. And we got our diamond armor in episode 1, so I feel we got a pretty good start, but I definitely want to work towards gearing myself up more and more all the time, and I think the best way to do that is going to be working with villagers. So I'm really looking forward to getting a little village built up on this little island here, and we're going to get a really good start on that today. But before we get going on that, I'm going to need to gather quite a few resources, and in order to do that, I'm going to want to have some iron tools, and I'm just about out of iron at this point, so I went ahead and made my way down to level 16 and thought I would just do some strip mining down here since it's supposedly the best place for iron, and I would pick up some cobblestone along the way. I did find some iron early here, but for the most part it was a pretty disappointing trip as far as iron went. But I was mining some andesite and granite, and then I realized I had found a copper vein, which this is the first one of these I have ever found. I found lots of iron veins, but I've never found a copper vein, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I mined it out a little bit, but I did decide I'll wait to come back until I have fortune to really do that. Then I just kept going on level 16, and I went quite a long ways and didn't find any more iron. So this whole trip down here, I found 16 iron total, which is actually pretty crazy, but I did get a good amount of cobblestone and a little bit of granite and andesite, so that'll be nice to have to work with. But made our way up top, and when I came out the mine, this was my first time seeing darkness in this world, which I will say is something I kind of miss. I think nighttime is one of the coolest times of Minecraft, and I really enjoy being able to just work through it in my regular world, but in hardcore, at least early on, sleeping is the key. And considering it was nighttime when I came out, I thought I better check my perimeter, make sure I don't have any creepers hiding, so I did a little check, and I did see this guy down here, so went ahead and lured him out into the open and got rid of him. Then it was time to do a little resource gathering, and starting with chopping some trees down, which over here is where I kind of plan on turning into my tree chopping area. So I started by just clearing it out a little bit and building up some oak and birch and dark oak along the way. And then I also wanted to get some jungle wood, which I knew I had a little jungle behind the hill here. So I made my way out that direction. And I know I mentioned last episode the interesting mix of biomes here. Kind of miniature biomes, not a very big jungle and just a little savanna behind us here. But I was chopping some bamboo and I realized it was almost nighttime and I didn't have my bed on me, so I hustled my way back to the base, and yeah, you don't want to get caught without your bed. This is the first time almost doing that for me, lesson learned. And I dropped a few things off just to clear some space in my inventory, and started this day back out in the jungle getting the bare essentials, getting some melons, a little bit of jungle wood, and some cocoa beans, just so I have it all on me. And while I was out there, I found this abandoned nether portal here, and there was a Fortune 2 golden hoe, which is kind of a nice find. I'll take that. That'll help with building up some crops later. So we'll take it. And I wanted to go on a little adventure here out west. So once again, get my inventory in a good spot here. Go ahead and go to sleep to start on a fresh day. And make sure I have a bed on me. I almost was going to do it again, but I got a bed made. And then, yeah, I wanted to head out and check out some of this cool generation that we have out here. I've had it out of the corner of my eye, but I'm yet to head over and really check it out. And it's a pretty cool area here, actually. It kind of reminds me of old school Minecraft generation for whatever reason. And I think this is a cool little bay here. I like the little floating islands almost. Sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. I also like the mix of water down here. And yeah, just a cool area. But once again, the interesting biome combo. Here I have a spruce forest right next to a savanna, which I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I very well might have, but I definitely don't remember it, and I think it's actually a pretty cool blend of biomes. I really like the way these greens go together. It definitely just stands out as something different that I've never really seen. And the savanna biome itself is just a pretty cool one. I just like the mix of stone and coarse dirt and grass and just the layout overall. So went ahead and chopped a few trees down here. Probably should have chopped more, but I just wanted to keep moving, but I got a little acacia to work with. Then I just kept adventuring and saw this birch forest over here, and I knew I was going to need a bunch of birch, so I went ahead and chopped a bunch down there. Then I just kept heading west, and I should mention my mission on this adventure was hoping to find a village or two and maybe a mesa. Mesa would have been a really nice find, but I'll spoil the story and tell you we didn't find either. We did find a flower forest here, which is a nice find. Nice to have access to all the flowers, so I gathered a few of them, and this is where the bundles come in handy. Nice to keep organized. While I was at it, I started getting some exposed iron and coal. Might as well. I'm going to need it. And yeah, like I said, I got to a point where I just saw no sign of a mesa and no villages, which is crazy. I feel like there's villages that are a lot easier to find usually than this, but yeah. Made my way back and put a few things away, and at this point I was feeling like I was in a pretty good spot to get going on my village here. I'll be needing to gather a few more resources throughout, but I was ready to get building, and my plan here is to just have a bunch of buildings kind of around the outside edge of this little island here that will contain all the villagers within it, so they can run back and forth, and essentially a free-roaming villager trading hall, I guess you would say. So I just got kind of laying out my plans here. I will mention again, I can't make a creative copy of this world, which is different compared to my survival Let's Play, so this is all freestyling here, but I'm liking how things come together, even if I have to delete what I put down every now and then. Yeah, not going huge scale buildings, kind of small buildings, but having a bunch of little things add up to something big, and you can see what I'm going for here with the buildings wrapping around the edge, and we'll change some of the textures and elevations as we go. But yeah, you can kind of see what I'm going for. But I wanted to get filling the island in here so it's a little easier for me to traverse. So starting with the road, which I just wanted to have kind of a little roundabout, just bringing a path in front of all the buildings so they can enter in, and we'll have a little centerpiece of some kind. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but you can see what I'm thinking here. Like I said, kind of changing the elevation. It probably would have been a lot easier for me to just make it completely flat, and in some cases that probably would have been the right idea, but I just like to make things hard on myself, I guess, but I do think it ends up looking cool. Yeah, it's nice getting the dirt filled in and the road, so a little easier to traverse up here. Still a lot of work to be done to fill things in, get some floors in, but at least we got a good start on things. So I was ready to really get a visual for what it's going to look like around here, getting some walls up. Trying to keep things interesting by having buildings at different heights, just so they separate themselves from each other. And this is an example of, if I had a creative copy, I wouldn't have used the bamboo wood just because I didn't like how it looked, so I ended up trading it out for acacia wood mainly. And yeah, I changed a few of the materials out, started working some stone in just so it wasn't all the wood types, just to differentiate things a little bit. Again, having to take down a few things that I put up, but that's one thing you learn as you play Minecraft is don't be afraid to take something down if you don't like it. I think this deep slate will look a lot cooler than the bamboo combo. Yeah, I was really happy when I stepped back and looked around. I just really like the way the buildings separate themselves from each other, and yeah, we do need to do some work on the island here though, and I was going to need some materials for that, one being dirt. which I figured I would gather a certain amount of that by actually making these little islands. They both were connected to the mainland, and I didn't like that, so I cleared out the river between them. And while I was at it, I filled in the whole waterway over to the little cave system that we have over here, and while I was doing that, creeper snuck up on me from behind here. That was a pretty close call there, and I haven't had too many of those, I'll be honest, so my heart really dropped. And I was gonna work on this cave, but in combination with the creeper sneaking up on me and seeing all these mobs, I just ran away. I know I could beat them, but no need to risk it. I'm trying to play these first 100 days at least as careful as I possibly can, and then once I get beyond that, I'll start playing a little riskier. I was gonna need some deep slate and tough are the main things I wanted to use for the island rocks, so I came down here and did a little branch mining, but I didn't have any wood on me to create another pickaxe, so I ended up just taking what I had already mined. Had a good amount of deep slate and tough down there, so just kind of went going around the edge here, just mapping things out and using tough for the top and kind of deep slate underneath is kind of creating a shadow. And I just kept working my way around and bringing the island down to the water to meet things up, and it was quite the process. And in the end, it's looking decent here. It definitely needs plenty of work to look good, but at least we're getting the island closed in and looking like an island. I got filling the floors in just so I can walk around. Now, as I come and detail these buildings, obviously I won't have dirt floors and all that. It was just temporary, but just getting things filled in so there aren't holes in the ground. And I'm really liking this project here. I'm going to put a little farm stand here, and yeah, definitely lots of work needs to be done to really blend the island into the ocean here and just make things look better, but at least we got it connected and looking like an actual landmass and not something just floating over the water. But overall, I'm just really liking this project. It's a concept I've thought of many times and I've never jumped into. But to break things up, I'm going to head over to what's my little island over here and just do a few little details I've been wanting to do. One being splitting my farms down the middle so that I have 6 sections instead of 3. That way I can get some pumpkins, melons, and beetroot planted. Pumpkins and melons mainly because I'm going to be doing lots of trading. While I was at it, I went ahead and did a little texture on the path here. Nothing too fancy, but every little bit adds up. Got planting my pumpkins here. And I got ambushed by a bunch of mobs here, and I don't know where they would have come from. As far as I knew, I had been sleeping pretty good, but those dark oak forests can be dangerous, I guess. Got rid of them and planted my melons. Just did a few details around the area. This time I did work into the night, made that mistake. Nothing I can't handle. But that being said, I don't want to let myself get too comfortable and start working into the nights, because all it takes is one time, so I need to stay up on my sleeping at sunset. And yeah, I think we got the farm looking a little more organized down here. But then I wanted to get working on the mine a little bit. I'm not going too far here, but I mainly just wanted to kind of get my path laid out over here for it. Just because paths really add a lot to the base, as I've said many times. And I got a basic layout for what'll be my mine over here. I'll come back and make an actual project of making it a cool spot, but just kind of getting a basic shape for the building over here. Using dark oak just because that's what I have a lot of. But it actually ends up blending with the area pretty nicely. I thought it was going to be too much of that brown, but I actually think it ends up looking pretty good. And I like the shape of the path, and I think the building's got a cool shape. Like I said, I'll go back and make it cooler at some point. But yeah, we got our melons and pumpkins planted, and we'll get rid of this wheat and hopefully find some beetroot at some point. I'm going to need to get a bigger melon and pumpkin field, though, for my trading. At this point, I was ready to put my head down and start to bring these buildings to life here, starting by just figuring out the doors and the windows. I kind of alternated some regular glass and white glass just to give a little variation. I forget who I saw do that recently, but I thought it was a cool idea, and I think it does look cool just having those white panes mixed in here and there. And yeah, now they're looking like buildings, and they look bigger than they are with the windows as well. Then I got putting the roofs in, and I'm going with the same type of roof as I did on my starter base. They're all going to be the same as far as just this angle, but I will have them going in different directions, as you'll see, and just different types of wood and stone, and I think it's ends up looking really good. Something different than I've ever really done as far as just having the same type of roof, but just having them all branch off it in different ways, and I think it looks really nice, especially when I filled in the buildings so that the buildings have those slight angles going on. I think these are really cool down here. Went ahead and filled in the roofs, again using lots of dark oak and deep slate just because that's what I have a lot of. I definitely could come back at some point and redo some of these buildings when I have more materials and maybe a little more time, kind of attack one at a time. Speaking of materials, I needed to take a little break and do some wood chopping because I had been running out, because I wanted to do some serious texturing. And this does end up being quite a bit of work, but I personally think it ends up making a huge difference. Now, I'm not going too crazy with the texturings or the gradients. I'm only using 2 different types in each building. Again, that's another thing I can come back later and go a little further with, but for now, I do think it does make a big difference just doing the little bit that I do here, and it was a good amount of work. I will say, pro tip that I think I've said before in a video, but definitely using a stone axe when you're stripping wood, because you might as well not use your iron axe. It all goes at the same speed, and it does break your axe pretty quickly. And yeah, I think these textures just added more than you might think. This area is just looking really nice. Like I said, the buildings aren't big, but I think the windows themselves just make them look bigger than they are. I'm just really liking our little town center here. And before one last little push of details, I wanted to come over here and get my animal pen set up. Don't believe it's day 64 and I'm yet to do this. And I do hate to take away my nice sandy beach, but I do want to be efficient with my little island here, and we've got to have our animal pen. And I'll make more of this project later, really make the area cool, get a little barn and all that. But for now, I just mainly wanted to get some wool set up because I wanted some blue wool for my little farm stand that I'm going to make down here. And I decided I was going to push it back a little bit so that I could use this area that's filled with the stone right now to have a little carrot field, because every village needs a carrot field to keep it going. So let's put up a simple little farm stand here. As with all these buildings and everything I've done so far, I'm just really working on getting a layout of the village, and I'm definitely getting a good start, but as time goes on, I will individually go through each building and differentiate things a little bit. But I think this works cool for a little farm stand, and we got our carrots planted so that a couple farming villagers can keep all our villagers fed. And that also enclosed that side of the village, and I'll be building a bridge off of here at some point, I imagine, but for now I'm just going to block it off, and now we got the village nice and safe and ready for villagers. I did get sidetracked when I saw a couple cows over in the woods because I was having trouble finding them earlier, so I went ahead and brought them over so I can get them multiplying as a good food source. And just one last little push, some of the essential details here. I'm not going to fully finish things today. I'm just going to get to a good finishing point. I'm just trying to break these episodes up about 35 days apiece. So before I go too far, I thought I'd just get to a good stopping point for now, and then we'll have plenty of room to come and improve the area. But yeah, the last little flowers and just getting some greenery in, and obviously we'll add more when I get more bone meal and just when I have a little more time. But for now, couldn't be happier with what we got going on here. Like I said earlier, it's a concept I've thought of doing many times before, and I've never actually tried to do it, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Like, it came together pretty easily, really, so something I'm going to start doing more. As you see, it's been about 35 days, 10 minutes a day, so that's about 6 hours or so, and that's not too bad to have a whole little village like this set up. And I think it just looks really cool from out here as well. I really like the roof line, how it kind of swoops down here like that. And just overall, the different blocks for the different buildings, separating them all from each other. I just think it all came together really well. And the sloped roofs, different angles, going different directions, just all works out really nice. And I'm super happy with it. So yeah, I'm really having fun in this hardcore world. Just a little break from my survival Let's Play. I'll be getting back to that eventually, but I'm really pushing for 100 days. So I'm going to jump right back into that and hope to have an episode sooner than later. So yeah, as always, I appreciate you all for coming, and have a good day.